So
Nice.
we went there, and my cat just bit me on my foot. I don't know why. Sorry, that was like a weird fucking reaction, but out of here, Jesus H. But so. Three, two, one. What is going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Lo-Fi Horror Guy. Welcome to another episode of the Lo-Fi Horror Guys growing on you live. And today, I'm going to be having on actually my first female guest. I am so excited. Cannot wait. Miss Rachel Reeves. She has done some work with Nightmare on Film Street. She's been, just doing different things as far as reviews. She does some write-ups for movies, does some articles. Recently has worked with Rue Morgue, Fantasia Fest as well. We're going to dig into all of that. Rachel!
Did I do it?
Yeah, there it is. It worked.
All right.
It worked. Hey, how's it going?
Oh, good. Sorry, let me turn the volume up here a little bit. All right.
Cool. Well, thank
Success.
you. Awesome. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it goes back and forth. Sometimes it works, perfectly fine. There's other times where it doesn't work so well. So I'm glad that it passed you in.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you so much
be
for being on. I truly appreciate it. Super cool of you. Take the time.
Yeah, I'm stoked to be here.
Awesome. So if you haven't seen the show before, basically I have a couple, we just start out with a couple of icebreaker questions, and then the rest of the interview kind of it digs into you and your page and your craft, and then we have one finale question for you that we're going to end it off with. So if you're ready, we're going to dig right in.
Sounds good.
All right, very cool. So like I say, if you're just joining, Miss Rachel Reeves, she's got an Instagram page on here, super cool stuff, lots of cool content, vinyl reviews, all sorts of stuff. So let me first ask you. So now my wife and I do a little bit of traveling, and if we were traveling through Boise, Idaho, where you're from, what local eatery would you point us out to as far as that we have to stop by before we leave?
Definitely Funky Taco. That's me and my husband's favorite place to go. It's right in the heart of downtown Boise, and locally owned and operated, and they just, I don't know what they do. They have some really creative people working in the kitchen, and they make just the best tacos and weird combinations of foods and stuff, and it's so good. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
You guys have like a big collection of like food trucks and different things like that around there too, or no?
We don't have, there's a lot of them for sure. There's not like an area where you can go and they're just like set up all the time, like in a lot of bigger cities.
Okay.
So they're usually like at events and things like that. But yeah, there's a healthy group of them. But yeah, unfortunately, we don't have a place where they're just like camped out all the time. I wish we did. That'd be cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe someday.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of people, that bring up like different food or different restaurants that include, like taco joints and stuff. I'm like, man, that'd be so sweet. But around here, literally, it's like food trucks. If you're looking for decent, good taco of any sort, you have to go to a food truck. They're not always there, so it's like kind of sucks.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, no. So if I could ask you, if we were making a horror movie and I put you in charge of the villain, if I asked you, you got to make either like a monster or a cannibal movie, overgrown insect vampires, what would the villain be? What would you come up with?
Oh man. I probably would come up with something a little supernatural, like maybe like a little witchy. Okay. I don't get enough witch horror in my life. I don't know. They're out there for sure, but I would like to see more of that. So I'd probably have something like that with that like little supernatural element. Maybe the villain themselves is just a normal person, but they are able to call upon some darkness that way, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I just recently, and it's kind of embarrassing, but I just recently saw The Craft for the first time. My wife has been badgering me for like years to watch that one, and
Well, you should listen to her more because that's
very, very true. Yeah.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what are some favorites of yours that that you've seen? That kind of dabble into that.
Well, I mean, The Craft is the biggest one, and I think just like when it came out, like I was the right age and it hit me at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
A recent one that I did enjoy was The Wretched. That's also kind of a different, it kind of combines like some local folklore.
Okay.
I think it was filmed in Michigan, and so some of the witch
That's where
stuff
I'm at.
that they call upon. Oh, well, then you should see it. You should definitely see it.
I haven't even heard it. Okay.
Yeah. So, and it's kind of mild in terms of like the horror element. It's got more of that like, Goonies kind of feel or Stranger Things-ish in terms of like it's appropriate for a lot of ages.
Okay.
But there's some great practical effects, and it's kind of a different kind of witchy vibe that I liked a lot.
Sweet. Okay. Did you ever watch The Lords of Salem?
I haven't.
Okay.
That is a blind spot in my Rob Zombie filmography. I was just talking about this the other day. I was like, I don't know why I haven't seen this. Like I've been told it's everything I would like, and just haven't got that to
right.
I'm being called out. Yeah.
Right. Okay. No, that's as far as like his movies, I think that's probably my favorite, other than like The Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses. But that kind of hits into that whole realm of witches and everything, and it in a really really cool way. Like it's actually a local disc jockey, and she gets dropped off a vinyl, and so it's kind of funny. Like some of your interests in my research, I think that one would kind of hit pretty close to a lot of interests for you.
Yeah, and even the new Suspiria kind of like pulled on that a bit,
yeah.
and I enjoyed that. A lot of people, have mixed feelings. I know it's a hot push button topic, but I really enjoyed it for that reason a lot too. I think. So.
Yeah, that movie was really really good. I liked it. So now your horror origin. I know I listened to your recent interview that you had there. But I just kind of dig into maybe your first movie that you saw and where it kind of all started for you, the interest.
Sure. Yeah, the interest is it came a little late, I think, for me, but I think it was always kind of there. Like, my dad was really into action films, and my mom was really into a lot of the BBC mystery shows, which are kind of dark in their own way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But, so I watched a lot of that, and I think kind of my horror interest kind of came out of that. The first, movie I can remember having a real impact on me in the horror realm was Christine. And
nice.
I love cars. And my dad was like, oh, I don't know, I was like 15 or something. And he was like, oh, you got to watch Christine. And so it was on TV late one night or whatever. And he came and woke me up and was like, it's on. You got to come watch it. So we watched Christine. And that was the first time I was just like, yes. Because I was like, I don't know, when I was younger, I loved Grease a lot because of the cars.
Okay. And
so this was it had everything that was, I don't know, more aligned with my interests.
Sure.
Yeah. So that was a pivotal moment, I think, because that blew my mind.
Okay.
And
awesome.
and I don't have any older siblings or friends who were into it, so I feel like I didn't have that person feeding me or guiding me this stuff. Sure. So I kind of had to start digging in a little bit later. I think in high school was kind of where it really started, I think.
Okay, cool. Now, from the movies that you've seen since then, give me a couple, maybe even three scenes that just ever since you saw them were just ingrained in your brain, whether they were just absolutely amazing scenes, or something that was just so scary that you're like, oh shit, I'm never going to be able to forget about that.
Sure. Yeah. A movie that really I don't know if it was just one scene, but just the film overall and the way it looked and everything was Rosemary's Baby. That was kind of my introduction to whoa, horror films can be kind of, I'm going to use this term and I'm sorry, but elevated. Just be oh, this is shot beautifully and the story is amazing and it's subtle and nuanced and the performances are great. And it was a different kind of horror. Sure. So that whole film was really influential to me, and it's since become my favorite one. I know Polanski is, not a great person at all, but the film itself really means a lot to me. And so that's an influential one. I think, let's see, Friday the 13th, part 4, one of my favorite scenes ever, Crispin Glover when he's dancing. That's one of my favorite things ever. So I'm going to say that's a pivotal, important scene. What else? And Gremlins 2, where he becomes Rambo. Like that there is just like, I don't know if that counts as horror. Horror enough, I guess. I mean, but yeah, when he transforms into Rambo, like that whole little montage, just like that hits me in the feels real good. So.
Okay, awesome. I love that. So now recently you've gotten, or I mean, not even necessarily recently, but you dabble into, you do writing, you do reviews, you do lots of work, you know, in that realm. And just tell me about your work with the Nightmare on Film Street. How did you get involved with them? And you know, what are some of the projects that you've taken on with them?
Yeah, so I've been writing for Nightmare on Film Street for just celebrated 3 years a few days ago, which is kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, congrats.
And it really just, I don't know, I sent him a pitch and applied to be a writer, and I started that way because I really was getting more and more involved and like more interested in like the horror world, and kind of wanted to combine my love of soundtracks and wanted to write about that a little bit more. So I sent them a pitch, and I've been writing for them ever since, which has been just incredible. They're such a, John and Kim, you know, the editors and folks behind it, like they're just so supportive and awesome, and the community that they fostered is really great, and it's really encouraged me to kind of, you know, put feelers out there elsewhere. And so that's how I started writing for Rue Morgue and some other sites, Valingo and Film Cred. So they really helped, you know, support me and make me believe that I could do it, and then also give me the experience to like practice the craft. So it's been great. Yeah, it's been amazing.
Did you do any sort of schooling or any sort of like college or anything like that as far as for writing?
Not for writing. I've always like been a writer in some way, shape, or form. When I was like little, like child little, that's what I wanted to be. And I would send out stories to I would just look up publishers in the yellow pages. Like I didn't know what kind of publishers they were, like textbook publishers, and I would just like send them stuff and be like, do you want to publish my book? And I would get back these now I think they're really cute, like, oh, that's really awesome, but like we don't really publish children's books, like, you know, like. So it's always been in me. I went to school for music business, actually.
Oh wow, okay.
So that's what my degree is in. But the writing's always been there. I've just kind of the last 3 to 5 years of starting to taking it more seriously, I think. So sweet.
And then recently you've been working with Fantasia Fest. You know, what have been some things that you watch for that, and you know, what's maybe even a favorite?
Sure. Yeah, Fantasia Fest. So they did a virtual edition this year for obvious reasons, which, you know, on one hand sucks, but on the other hand, it made it open to a lot of writers not in Canada, because normally you have to go to the film festival to cover it.
Right.
So since they did it virtually this year, it really opened up the doors for a lot of writers all over the world to cover it, including me, which was awesome. I loved it. I've like always dreamed of going to Fantasia.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was able to write some reviews for Rue Morgue and for Valingo. And some of my favorites that I really liked were Climate of the Hunter, which is just, Mickey Reeves is the director. He's done 27 feature films. He's just like cranking them out all the time. Wow. But it's a vampire movie that may not be a vampire movie, but it's very heavily focused on the style and the aesthetic of the film, but like unapologetically so. It's very intentional. Sure. And it was great, and I loved it. It had a really good sense of humor about it, which I appreciated. And I also really liked Paper Tigers, which is a martial arts film, but just, I've been watching a lot of Karate Kid lately, and Cobra Kai. So I've been like in that mood, and it has it's got the same like heart and like emotional resonance, but also like really incredible choreography, like fight choreography and stuff.
Sure.
So Definitely recommend that one as well. I think those were like probably my top two. Come True by Anthony Scott Burns was really great. I think I love him as a filmmaker. I think that he's got his vision and he sticks to it, and I think that that's really amazing. And Electric Youth does the score for that one with him,
Oh, sweet.
which is also really cool.
Yeah,
so yeah,
awesome. Okay,
those are three, I guess.
Yeah, there's I mean there's definitely been some really cool stuff that's come out of that fest, and I just interviewed Ryan Kruger a few days ago, and he did the Fried Berry, which was playing at Fantasia. And it was funny because like I had reached out a couple of weeks in advance to Fantasia trying to get a hold of him, like, hey, is there any way I can screen this, because I've really tried to see this before, and and it was like the day before, literally they're like, well, if you're not in Canada, we're not going to be, like, there's a geo lock on it. And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to see it before I talked to him, but but they're doing lots of really cool stuff, and it seems like it's a really cool festival, year after year. So you definitely appreciate what they're doing with all that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they know what they're doing, and they pick really cool films, and they take the time to curate them really well, which, film festivals don't get enough credit for, because to pick those films, they have to watch, this many films and then narrow it down to this many films. So it's like they're really taking the time to find all those films and put them together, and that's a whole thing in itself. I have a friend who's a programmer for a local festival here, and just like the amount of films that she has to go through just to find the ones that are really great, like, it's crazy. It's so much time, and it takes, you're planning 6 months ahead of time. So yeah, kudos to the Fantasia team for their hard work and stuff all the time. It's really incredible.
Yeah, for sure. I can only imagine. I mean, having to go through, like, I love movies, but I feel like there would be a certain, time frame where all of a sudden you get like 4 or 5 movies in, you're just like, oh my God, I still have 30 more to watch before I can even start with this shit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I can't imagine. I don't envy that.
So,
yeah.
When you're reaching out, as far as, to somebody new that you'd like to work with, do you have certain pieces that you kind of reference back to, like interviews or pieces that you've written, just to kind of, as like a pitch, per se?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, of course, like, tailor it to who I'm writing to. Like, if I'm pitching like an interview with somebody, I'll always like reference some interviews with other either like bands or composers or kind of people in that same sphere. Like, I'm not going to send them, a listicle I wrote on like the scariest bathrooms in horror, because like that, they're gonna be like, oh, cool. Like, so like I'll try to like gear it towards like what I would actually be doing. And then, yeah, or if I wanted to write an article about a film score, I would send them some stuff that I've written about other film scores. So that is the great thing about having been doing this for a while and writing and for Nightmare on Film Street for so long, is that now I have this catalog of stuff to pull from, which I think it's really helpful, just to have that portfolio of pieces that, I can kind of cherry pick to, send with whatever I'm trying to write, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Have there been some standout people, or I don't want you to pick favorites, but, just as far as people that you've interviewed, have there been some that, you're just like, wow, that was awesome?
Yeah, and this is what's so great about being able to interview these creators, is like, I get so nervous every time, no matter what, doesn't matter who it is, I get so nervous, but every single time the people have been just so lovely, and I always learn something. And like, so a little while ago, I interviewed a film editor for, he worked on We Summon the Darkness, and his name's Jamie Kirkpatrick.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't really know anything about film editing. Like, I'm not an editor. I don't actually like make films. Mm-hmm. I just like them. So I was really worried that like, oh, am I going to, sound stupid, or I don't really know exactly like technical stuff to ask him because I don't exactly know what he has to do. But it was great. He was so nice and just so passionate about what he does that it was the best experience. And, we still chat here and there about various other things. Sure. And so even sometimes if it's something I don't really know about, just being able to like connect with those people is incredible.
Yeah. Sure.
So yeah, that's one that really stands out to me. And Ronan Landa, who was the composer for 1BR, which is like the film that just like won't stop. Like I interviewed him like 2 years ago, and it's number one on Netflix. Like it's just killing it. And so that's been awesome to see. And ever since that interview, like we've worked together here and there on various other projects, or, have exchanged emails asking for advice about various things. And that's great. That's fabulous to me. So being able to actually just talk to these people, this sounds stupid, but like as real people, is incredible. And every interview that I do, I never take that for granted. And I've never had one be weird or like not go very well or anything. So awesome. Like I love it every time. Just I learn something new every time. So that's exciting for me.
Sure. Yeah. And just from, I guess, the couple of months that I've been doing this, I find that it's one of those things to where, when you reach out to some of those people that, like an editor or something like that, it might not necessarily get reached out to all the time with that stuff. And, they also have awesome stories. They also have things that, they saw that some other people might not have even known what was going on. So it's cool to get those angles, from different people. As far as like, I recently interviewed the art director of, from Midsummer, and just the stories and, cool shit that he had, from like, I could have, getting a hold of like actors or directors or anything like that. But it's cool to hear, different things from those. And I love that you hit on that too, because it's definitely something to take into consideration for anybody that's doing any sort of interviews or trying to dig into, getting some behind the scenes shit. There's lots of people working on these, other than just actors and directors and, even musicians wise, talking to the bassist or a touring musician, seeing some of the stuff. It's really, really cool what they have to say.
Yeah, it takes a village, and like movies are magic, and there are so many moving parts. The director is, the director and the actors are usually, the faces of a film, but there's so many other people that have their fingerprints all over it. And everybody that's working on it is contributing to that vision. And, it's just like a chain. If there's a weak link, it's going to cause problems. So, every person involved with that is important. And those, just like you were saying, like those stories are important. And I think that's just so cool to talk to some of those other people and get their perspective, because, they know the film maybe even better than some, than the actors and stuff, because they're like really having to work on it. So, it's great. And I love that.
For sure. Okay. You currently work at the Record Exchange, which is a record shop there in Boise, correct? Or is it outside of Boise?
Nope. We're right in the heart of downtown Boise. Okay. Yep, that's where I am right now. This is my office.
Okay, sick. So just tell me about like your musical interest, kind of where that all started. If you had, like your parents listening to certain stuff when you were younger, did you take, any sort of musical classes when you were in school?
Yep, all of that. Yeah, I played piano. I started playing piano when I was 5. Played all the way through college. And I was a band nerd. I played saxophone in marching band in high school and college and stuff. My parents were both music lovers. And my dad really fostered my love of music, outside of playing it. My mom really wanted me to play the music, and my dad really fostered my love of just listening to music. And he introduced me to a lot of bands that really have stuck with me and have really become important in my life. So I can never thank him enough there. Sure. And I went to tons and tons of shows in high school, like all the time, shows like every weekend. And so music's always been super important to me. And I kind of always, that's what I went to school for. So I knew that I wanted to pursue that more. And I'm very thankful and lucky that I was able to find my little niche in the record store world, because it's been such a blessing. And I've been working in record stores now for over a decade, I think 12 years really? Altogether.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. 10 years here. And then I also worked at a store in Colorado Springs, Colorado, called Independent Records. Okay. So that was the first record store I worked at. And then than this one for a really long time. So
sweet. Did
yeah.
the vinyl interest come from working in record stores, or was that something that was like a younger, kind of interest to you? Or
So I mean, my dad always had records, so they were always there.
okay.
However, I do remember there was this pivotal memory where I was listening to a lot of pop punk when I was in high school, and like in middle school and high school, I was listening to a lot of, I was real tough. I was listening to a lot of like Green Day and a lot of Bouncing Souls, real hard.
Yeah.
And then my dad finally was like, "Oh, you need to listen to real punk rock." And I was like, "Okay." So he like sat me down and put headphones on, and he gave me the Clash Combat Rock, and he was like, "You need to listen to this." He was like, "I want you to sit here and I want you to read these lyrics, or along with the music." And I was like, "Okay, Dad, whatever." But that experience like blew my mind, because sitting there and like listening and engaging with a record and like following the lyrics along in the liner notes, and I had never heard anything like that before. And so that was kind of a really like pivotal moment. I think I appreciated it and I connected with the record in that way. And so it's always kind of been a thing. But once I started working in record stores, it was like I don't know, just snowballed from there. Yeah, I mean, they're surrounded by them all the time, and just like constantly engaging with customers and my coworkers and learning about new music every single day. Like, as much as I know about music, there's that much more that I don't know.
Yeah.
And so it's just a never-ending fuel source for this like love of music that I have, and it's fabulous. It's great. So,
sure.
But working in the record store definitely made it a lot easier to access stuff all the time. So.
Yeah. I can relate as far as the guitarist in my band works at a record shop here, locally. And for all of the music that I think that I know, and I have little side bands from members and all of that, like, I just hear him talk and I'm like, dude, I'm not even going to start. Like, I'm not at that level, and I'm never going to claim to be. So we won't talk music. We'll just leave that out of the conversation.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what's so great about music too, is like, I mean, I know a lot, but like my coworkers know a lot, and they know a lot about different stuff.
Right.
Some know a ton about hip hop, and some know a ton about indie rock, and some know a ton about like, 70s UK prog and stuff. Like, I don't know. So there's so much out there, and it's so great to talk with people all the time and just learn about, the cool stuff that they're into. And sure. It's just, it's great. I am happy that there's always something more to learn. It's no fun if like everything like that. I mean,
right.
That's stupid. Like, of course I want to know about this amazing band that I've never heard of. Like, please tell me.
Right.
So I mean, I love that aspect of it. I think it's great.
Sure. And I think that touches on to horror, just as far as like, if you look into, when I was coming up, I was going to Blockbusters and different video, local video shops and things. And, I felt like I saw everything that was ever out there. And even now there's companies like Vinegar Syndrome and Severn and, different companies out there that are releasing movies to where it's like, I've never even heard of anybody mentioning this. I've never even heard of this title. Like, where did this come from? And it's stuff from like still 30 years ago. That's like absolutely crazy too. So that's always cool. To discover new stuff. Yeah.
I think we're definitely living in like a golden age for that reason, is that there are these labels and there are these streaming services that are able to like bring back a lot of the stuff that like I mean I would never have access to. Mm-hmm. Like, I had to rent VHS from my local like grocery store. Like, we didn't even have like, for a while, like, we didn't have a Hollywood Video or Blockbuster, so the selection was really slim. So I just the fact that I was able to get Scream, I was like, whoa, what is this? Awesome. So it's so cool that so much of it. I mean, I have a stack. I literally have a stack like right here of just like stuff that I've like ordered. This is the bad thing about working at a record store, is that you can like order a bunch of stuff. Yeah, but I'm like, oh, like I've never, like, I don't know what this is, but I heard somebody talking about it on a podcast, so I had to order it.
I see it's best.
And
what is it?
It's called The Unholy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shit.
Like, I don't even remember what podcast I was listening to, but somebody was talking about it. I'm like, well, I have to order that immediately. Yeah, and then, like, what else? Severin and, like, all their, like,
That's yeah. I
stuff
just
that they
recently
just
got that
all the
too. Yeah.
Fulci stuff. Yeah, so it's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's so exciting because
So that's all stuff that you
same
stock
thing.
in the shop too, or did you buy
Yes.
those?
So no, well, both.
Well,
So
okay.
part of what I do here is I'm the movie buyer. So I get to
That's sick
order,
as hell.
films because we sell movies too, new and used. So I get to like kind of curate what kind of films that we stock here in the store, which is awesome because we don't really sell a lot of like the big like blockbuster films because that's not our customer. Like people aren't going to come to us to, buy like the latest Ben Affleck movie. Like that's
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
not really like our customer. Like our customers that are going to buy brand new movies are people like us
yeah.
who care about physical media and like the cult labels. So we sell a lot of cult stuff.
Mhm.
So that is a perk that I get to stock all this stuff
Yeah.
at the store and then also, throw in a few extra orders for myself.
Yeah,
So,
that is sick. That's awesome.
yeah.
That'd be a
So,
dream come true as far as with me, and it would be a disaster because I'd be wasting all my fucking money on movies all the time, which
oh yeah,
I already kind of
I
do
tell
anyway. But
customers all the time. I'm like, I don't think I've ever brought home a paycheck. I mean, that's not true, but you know what I mean.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, for sure, for
I
sure.
feel that I just, I support the store in a lot of ways with my time and my finances. So,
Right. Okay.
yeah.
So now on your page, on your Instagram page, you have tons of really cool vinyl that you're always posting. What was the first one that you got that was a horror vinyl?
Um, well, I'd actually, I don't, my very first record ever was a Mott the Hoople record, which I think about a lot
Oh,
because I
okay.
feel like that's really weird.
Yeah,
like,
a little
oh,
different.
this is a completely normal thing for an 18-year-old, girl to buy. Like, oh, Mott the Hoople record, awesome.
Right.
But I don't know, that's where I was at that time. And
Nice.
but the first record that I call it the mother of my soundtrack collection was Rosemary's Baby. Like I told you earlier, like that's one of my favorite movies, but it's also the film score that really got me like really paying attention to film scores,
Sure.
and kind of the emotional weight and power that they can carry. So that was a really important one, and that kind of, and I think that was around the time period that like Waxworks and Death Waltz were really like kind of kicking off,
Hmm.
and so I started paying attention to more of those releases that were starting to come out. Like I don't know what, like 2014, 2015 is when they really kind of started doing what they're doing and have
Sure.
been so great at doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that really just like sent me over the edge. And like the more I found out about those, like then I was just collecting stuff all the time.
Sure.
So
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
All right. So now this next segment, what we're going to do here is it's a little segment that I broke down. It's called the threes. All right. So we have a couple of things
Okay.
I'm going to ask, and they're just kind of more or less interests that I've seen in on your page and just researching you. So first off, what I want to ask is I want to ask your three favorite horror T-shirts that you currently have. You
Oh,
have a sick collection. You're constantly posting really,
thanks.
really cool stuff. So slap me with three of your favorites.
I really like this one that I'm wearing. That's Piranha at the
Oh
Gutter
shit.
Guards.
That is awesome.
Um, yeah, I really like Studio House Designs. I don't even know if I can have a favorite. They just make so many cool shirts.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
I think they made an Idle Hands one that I have that I just love. The
Like the
fact that there was
purple.
like yeah, just the fact that there was like an Idle Hands like shirt, like I
Yeah.
was like, all right, I can get behind this.
Right.
Um, and then Fright Rags. I mean, if the most popular one, the one that always gets a lot of comments when I wear it, is the Kill Destroyers one, the one that looks
Oh
like
yeah.
Kiss,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's got like the different slashers,
Right.
and so I mean that's a classic one to me, and they've been around for so long. I've been buying. I have so many Fright Rags shirts, like I don't even know. Like
Hell yeah.
I probably have like 24 maybe different ones that I've
Oh shit.
just like assembled over the years. So, but I think that one might be my favorite. Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. And now, what are your three favorite horror? Let's even say celebrities that you've met in the industry, or even just three favorite
Oh,
people that you've met. I've seen you post with
yes.
like Tom Savini and Alan Howard
Hmm.
and Dick Warlock. I mean,
Oh, Dick Warlock.
dear
Oh my
Lord.
God, Dick Warlock was the sweetest
Okay.
because he was just like he was like he was blown away that like people cared, which of course like to a fan you're like, yeah, of course we care.
Yeah.
Like you were like the shape, like amazing. But he was just like, I don't even know why people want to meet me. Like this is so great. And yeah, so Dick Warlock was very sweet. Michael Berryman, I've met
Oh man.
a
Okay.
couple. Same thing. Like he is just so amazingly kind and nice and willing to talk and chat and really like spend some time with you. And I mean, he's in so many amazing films, and it's great just hearing his stories and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved meeting him. Um, who else? Chelsea Stardust is a celebrity in my eyes.
Nice. Yeah. So cool.
I, I I got to interview her a few years back,
Mm-hmm.
and she's just so great and so talented and just such a positive like ball of creative energy that you're just like I just you just want to be around her all the time and work with her all the time. And
Sure.
so I think that she's just great. One person that I didn't meet personally, but I saw him speak on a panel, was George Romero.
Oh,
And
nice.
that really, I mean, especially now that he's gone,
Mm-hmm.
like I will never take that for granted. And I'm so glad I went to that because, these people, you don't know how long they're here for. So like being able to like sit in a room and like hear him speak was just like such an incredible memory. And even though I didn't actually like, converse with him personally, like doesn't matter. Like I
Right.
wouldn't trade it for the world. It
Right.
was great.
So being there in person, being able to see
Oh
them.
yeah. Yeah, and that was at Texas Frightmare.
Oh, sweet.
Texas, I mean, yeah, that convention is so great for, and anybody that's been there knows that, and they do such a good job. So can't like, I don't know, can't give them enough credit. And if you ever get the chance to go, you should totally go because it's totally worth it.
Yeah, yeah. That's definitely one of the conventions that I hear a lot of people talk about. And I mean, being up in Michigan and Texas is quite a jog. But
Yeah.
it's one of those things where I've actually myself I've never gone to a convention, so that's one of those things in the next couple of years that I wanted to start picking up. Doing and checking out and seeing, and over and over. I hear a lot of people talking about that one. So
Yeah.
for sure,
Bring your money though. Like bring some money because
Okay.
like I had no idea what to expect the first time I was in. I was like, oh, I'll bring like $500. Like that should be more than enough. And then it was just like,
Oh shit.
like, because there's so many cool vendors and like,
Yeah.
of course, like, when you meet these people, like they, and you get their autograph, like, of course you pay them,
Right.
for their time and everything. So it's expensive, but
Sure.
I mean, the memories alone, like worth it.
Yeah. I mean, and with the thing, with like George Romero, I guess you never know, when you see some of these people, it could be a couple of weeks later that they're not going to be available to be, seen ever again. So I mean,
Totally.
that's one thing to keep in mind too for people that are
Oh,
a little worried
totally.
about, the money aspect of it. That's really, really cool.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And then another aspect I wanted to ask about was your three, not horror, I was going to say your three favorite tattoos. You have lots of different new tattoos that you're posting, doing some traveling, maybe give me just three of your favorites.
So I'm going to say all three of my favorites. There's this incredible artist here in town. Her name's Darcy Nutt, and she owns a shop in Chalice. And she also has a shop, I believe, in North Carolina, in Raleigh, that her and her husband operate. But she has been like my soul artist. She just gets my weird ideas and then makes them better than I had even imagined. So my favorite tattoo, she did my Joe Strummer portrait, which I love so much because he's my favorite musician and means the most to me. So I, having his image, like I wanted to make sure that like, I trusted the person that does it so it actually looks like them.
Yeah, for sure.
And she did amazing. She also did my R2-D2, which was the first tattoo that she ever did for me that I she just did so great. And and my Gizmo. I have a giant Gizmo on my leg. So
Nice.
So it just makes me happy every time I see it in a mirror because it's on the back of my leg. But it makes me very happy. So I love that.
Nice, sweet. Well, that's awesome. I love that. I know. I went when my wife and I went to Vegas. We actually got married in Vegas, so
Nice.
we went there. and my cat just bit me on my foot. I don't know why. I'm sorry. That was like a weird fucking reaction, but out of here. Jesus H. But so we got married in Vegas, and then we went and we were going to go get like tattoos at a shop or whatever. And so I was sitting there and I saw a guy's flash piece, and he had this like really cool Jaws, like it was like stick figures, but inside of like this really cool like Jaws like mouth, like the teeth and all that, kind of like from the movie. And so nice. I went back and I told, I'm like, hey, I don't know who this artist is, but I really want to get this tattoo. And then my wife wanted to get a Gizmo. So it's kind of funny. She has a Gizmo right on her like upper thigh, and it's like holding like a little like paper boat, and it's adorable. Gizmo is always a good one to go for sure. I love it.
Oh yeah, he's very like cartoony and animated, just like his puppet style. So I think it translates really well, especially if you like traditional style tattooing. I think it just naturally works really well. So it's great.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, this is going to bring us to our finale. Before we get to that, if you want to let everybody know what you've got going on, some of the stuff that you have coming up here, this is your time.
Sure. Yes. So if you pick up the latest issue of Rue Morgue, their Halloween issue, which has got a ton of cool info about Italian horror, which is really awesome for anybody that likes that. I have my first feature in there, which is very exciting, that I was able to interview Murder by Death, the band Murder by Death.
Sick.
Which if you don't know them, you should. They're so good. They've been one of my favorites for such a long time, and I was really excited to be able to bring them to Rue Morgue. So there's a feature in there about that, and a couple film reviews, or not film reviews, sorry, album reviews that I did, little album reviews in there as well. So that's out now. And what else? Nightmare on Film Street. Every month I do 2 editorials for them, one where I examine a film soundtrack, which is always just so fun. Little sneak peek this month. Our whole theme is about ghosts and spirits and hauntings and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, what's like the most famous like ghost song or music, and I was like, well, Ghostbusters, duh. So I'm gonna write about Ghostbusters and Ray Parker Jr.'s song, because it's actually got a really interesting history, a very legal history there. Weird. Between him and Huey Lewis. So it's kind of an interesting piece of just music history in general.
Oh, okay.
There was a whole legal battle there, so I'll talk about that. And then I also do one where I write about just an interesting or well-developed character in horror. So that one should be out here in a couple days. And then, what else? Yeah, just coming off of Fantasia. So that's kind of like all right, I can relax. And maybe just watch some movies for fun now. And sure. And I'll also have a piece in the next We Are Horror zine. So if you follow them at all, or a Patreon of them, you'll see a piece for me in there about relating to slashers and music. So that'll be fun.
Hell yeah, that rules.
That should be out. Yeah, that'll be out in October. So
okay. Cool. That was one other thing I did want to ask about, was composers. Before we get to the final, within the horror realm, there are so many cool bands, composers. Before the finale, what are even a couple of your favorite composers or bands that are doing it right now?
Sure. So right now, I think there's so many really great, interesting people working out there. Mark Corvin is always really fascinating to me. Most famously, I guess, he did The Witch.
Yeah.
That soundtrack. He creates his own instruments. It's it's incredible. If look him up on YouTube if you haven't. He makes just these incredible handmade, creepy nightmare machines. It's awesome. Carla Petullo, she scored Fangoria's film Porno. I think
I've been hearing a lot
she's
about
so
that.
Fabulous. Yeah, and she's also a singer and a songwriter, and she just has such an incredible voice and different take on a lot of things that she composes, just really beautiful and emotional and also really creepy. So I love her. Okay. And let's see, what are some of my other favorites? Steph Copeland did the score for a film called The Oak Room, which played at Fantasia, which I really loved.
Sweet.
And that was maybe one of my favorite scores that I heard in a film there. So she's a Canadian, same thing, composer and songwriter and stuff. So she's also one to watch for sure.
Okay. What is that one about? I feel like I've been hearing a little bit about that. The Oak Room, right?
Yeah, so it's very, it's kind of more of like a neo-noir thriller versus like just a like horror film, I guess.
Sure. Okay.
It's really just like a really well-crafted, beautiful film like about storytelling,
Okay.
is really kind of what it is. And small cast, small scenes, but it's really super engaging. And just the way that it's executed, like by the end of it, you're like, oh, that was good. That was good.
Okay.
So
Okay. Sweet.
it's kind of a little bit of a slow burn, but it's worth it. It's definitely worth it for sure.
Okay, sick, sick. All right, I love it. That's awesome. All right, so now to the finale. This is the
Okay.
last question, possibly hypothetical. I'm not sure. This could be something that you've actually fallen into already. But we're gonna go with the Record Exchange asked you for Halloween month, Halloween season. They asked you to
Okay.
pick a staff picks wall. All right. So when the customers come in, they're gonna see a staff picks wall, and you have to pick 5 horror scores on vinyl and 5 horror movies to have up on this bad boy. What are Rachel's picks?
So for the films, I would pick Blood Diner because I love that movie and I think more people should watch it because I think it's one of the
Hell yeah.
greatest horror comedies of all time. It doesn't get enough love. I would pick Prom Night because it's so fun.
Okay.
I would pick, let's see. Um, I'd probably pick, so there's this film called 1990 Bronx Warriors, which is like a blatant Italian like knockoff of The Warriors, but it's
Oh, really?
so amazing. I don't know if it's Halloweeny, but it's fun. I'd pick Trick or Treat because it's such a great Halloween film.
Okay.
And
The newer
I'd
one or the
probably also,
older like metal band
well, I mean, they're
members?
both awesome, but I'd probably pick the newer one because
Okay.
I think
Okay.
it like does, it should be like held as like a Halloween classic. And I think in the horror world it is, but
Yeah.
it should be like a mainstream like horror classic
Sure.
for Halloween. Um, and then let's see, probably what else I would pick. Probably just because I was just been talking about it, but I'd probably pick 13 Ghosts too because I think that
Okay.
that's really fun and it's been on my mind a lot lately. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. Very
And
cool.
then for scores, I'd put the Halloween score because you have to because it like is such a revolutionary score in a lot of ways, but whatever. And then I would probably also pick it's hard to even pick one, but like anything from Goblin, any like Goblin and like Argento, like team up, like those are all going to be so great. Probably Tenebrae. I think Tenebrae is like just so much fun. And, obviously like Suspiria gets a lot of love, but I think Tenebrae is really great as well.
Sure.
Let's see what else. I'd probably put Ben Lovett's score for The Wind up there. It's very creepy and very
Awesome.
atmospheric and beautiful, and it's awesome.
Okay. Okay. I don't know if
Yeah,
I'm familiar
and
with that one.
then
The
that one's
Wind.
fun. That one's The Wind, directed by Emma Tammy. Slow burn Western horror.
Ooh.
If you like a good like horror on the prairie, little horror on the prairie,
Yeah.
that's what that
Nice.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably put Alien up there or Aliens, either one. Both
Okay.
really great, classic, iconic scores.
Mhm.
And what else? Oh, I'd put probably Rocktober as well. That one's
Ooh.
really fun.
Nice, nice, very, very cool. Yeah, those are all
A little
ones
bit of
to,
everything.
yeah, yeah, to maybe even possibly buy to have in the shop here for this next coming month. Halloween's just around the
Oh
corner.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure,
for
for sure.
sure.
Well,
We'll be stocked. Don't worry about that. I'll make sure we will be well stocked.
very cool, very cool. I'm gonna have to tell my buddy to get on his game because they have some horror stuff, but I mean, as far as some of the movies that you showed and some of the vinyls, we've got to pick up our game around here. Shit.
They're out there. Yeah. I mean, they're not cheap, but like
Yeah.
everything costs money. But yeah,
Right,
they're out
right.
there.
Well, Rachel, thank you so much. I truly appreciate your time. This has been awesome. I'm going to keep an eye on your page and all the stuff that you have coming up and some of your great interviews and stuff, as well as everybody else should as well. So thank you so much once again. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. It's been a blast. It's been great seeing you in person.
Yeah,
So
for
it's
sure,
been a lot of
for sure.
it's been a lot of fun for sure. Thanks
Pretty
so
fun,
much.
yeah, yeah. So this is Rachel. We got the vinyl girl. Is it what's behind all of the R's in the vinyl girl there?
So it's like Riot Girl. So like
Oh, okay.
that's how they spelled it with three R's.
Yeah.
So
Shit.
there
Okay.
you
I'm
go.
gonna cut that out. I should have fucking known that. All right, Rachel. Thank you so much. Rachel Reeves, Lo-Fi Horror Guy. You guys take care. Be safe there.
Bye. Thanks.
He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi, lo-fi, a horror guy. Yeah.